Tonight, the deadly storms that ravage the Midwest and South are now moving east. A federal judge orders the Trump administration to stop deporting immigrants to El Salvador after hundreds have already been sent. And a new development in the case of the college student who went missing in the Dominican Republic. We begin with the devastating storms that have left at least 36 dead. More than 60 reported tornadoes spanning 8 states. Homes in Mississippi torn apart. Winds of 165 miles an hour blasting a town in Arkansas. One survivor says she and her mother are blessed to be alive. The same system already fueling wildfires in the plains as the storms head east. Ginger Z is tracking it all from the storm zone. Also tonight, a federal judge orders a temporary halt to deportations of suspected Venezuelan gang members. The Trump administration has already sent hundreds to prisons in El Salvador, citing a rarely used wartime declaration. The search for a college student who vanished on spring break takes another turn. Police have now confiscated the passport of a key witness. The manhunt in New York City for a suspect who allegedly set a man on fire in Times Square. Houthi rebels are vowing revenge after U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. President Trump watched the attack unfold from Florida and promises to use, quote, overwhelming lethal force until the Houthis stop attacking ships in the Red Sea. Dozens are killed after a nightclub catches fire, trapping the victims inside. Police say they're investigating whether the operators bribed officials to keep it operating. Starbucks is ordered to pay $50 million to a man who was burned by hot tea. What the company is saying about the verdict. The Vatican releases the first image of Pope Francis in more than a month and an update on his condition. Before March Madness comes Selection Sunday. Who's going to the big dance? And America Strong tonight, the baby they always wanted and the remarkable way he came into their lives.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this busy Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. As we come on the air, that deadly storm system that killed dozens of people and spawned more than 60 reported tornadoes throughout the Midwest and the South is now tearing through the East Coast. Heavy rain and thunderstorms are forecast for the I-95 corridor tonight into tomorrow morning. Take a look at these images just coming in of the driving rain and strong winds today in State College, Pennsylvania. Since Friday, tornadoes were reported across 8 states. This is Tylertown, Mississippi. At least 3 people died in the area. In southern Alabama, heavy rain and powerful winds knocked out power and caused significant damage. And in Oklahoma, residents are trying to salvage what was spared. Powerful winds from that same storm system helped to fuel fires that destroyed nearly 300 structures, including this man's home. The region is facing a new round of critical fire danger this week. We'll have the forecast in just a minute. But first, ABC News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z leads us off tonight from Mississippi.
Tonight, the death toll rising from a 3-day severe weather outbreak ravaging parts of the Midwest and South. It's claimed more than 36 lives. More than 60 tornadoes reported in 8 states since Friday. This is the damage left behind in Tylertown, Mississippi, southwest of Hattiesburg. It's kind of amazing to think here at the Paradise Ranch RV Resort that no one was hurt. Many of the cabins were not occupied at the time. They are just a mangled mess in between what looks like a clear cutting of these pines by that tornado. The manager tells us they are so grateful it happened this weekend and not next, when they expect more than 250 campers here. And north of Hattiesburg, this twister striking the town of Taylorsville.
A strong tornado is approaching your area. If you're not in your safe space, you need to be there.
As it neared, Claudia Hernandez hearing the warnings on TV.
I called my 91-year-old mother, and she come over, and we all got in our storm shelter. There was like 16 of us, and as fast as it hit, it was over, and we're blessed to be alive.
A classic trail of destruction. West of Jonesboro, Arkansas, a high-end EF3 tornado with winds of 165 miles per hour tearing through Cave City. Ashton Vickers says she's never seen anything like this happen here before.
This is my hometown, and just to see it the way it is just heartbreaking. It almost makes you want to cry.
In Talladega County, Alabama, an EF2 tornado with winds up to 120 miles per hour hurtling this empty school bus into the old Winterboro gym. The roof and many of the walls gone. In Oklahoma, powerful winds from the same system fueling wildfires that have destroyed nearly 300 homes and structures, claiming at least 1 life. Our Maria Villarreal is near Norman, Oklahoma.
This is one of the 300 structures burned in this state. You can see right behind me the damage that was done to this metal. And now the same area of Oklahoma is facing another round of critical fire danger in the coming days.
This deep spring storm also whipping up dust in Texas, blinding drivers and causing crashes. This is what it looked like on Interstate 27 north of Lubbock Friday. The National Weather Service from New Orleans has been out here today with 2 teams looking at the damage like this cabin wrapped around this tree, that debris field, and the clear cutting of trees that goes on for miles. And they have given this tornado a preliminary rating of EF2, winds minimum 111 miles per hour. These ratings are going to take some time because there were just that many tornadoes. And this storm is still active. Look at the map. You can see the actual low pressure system now exiting the lower peninsula of Michigan. There's actually snow on the backside that gave them a little dusting. But on the front end of it, you can see that front bring 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts from Delaware and New Jersey through Philadelphia up into New York. There are flood watches for almost all of Vermont and northern New York there. So as that front comes through, we lose this storm finally by tomorrow. But we've got another one we're watching already. The Bay Area will have gusts over 45 miles per hour tonight. Sierra Nevada, feet of snow. And do you see all those red flag warnings again from the high plains right on over to Kansas City? That's a problem for tomorrow into early Tuesday morning. Not only do they have relative humidities as low as 10 to 20%, but match that with these winds. Look at that, gusts up to 50 miles per hour in parts of the Cascades. And then by the time we reach Monday night and Tuesday, that's when it gets over to the plains. So hard hit with the fires, and they'll do it again tomorrow night. Lindsay.
And already astounding damage. Ginger, our thanks to you. Now to the battle over immigration. This weekend, the Trump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelans it says are members of a notorious gang, sending them to a prison in El Salvador. The White House is invoking a little-used but controversial law from 1798. Sources tell ABC News the administration made a calculated decision to ignore a federal judge's directive to turn the flights around. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Selina Wang.
Tonight, the Trump administration sharing this dramatic video from the president of El Salvador showing alleged Venezuelan gang members arriving to his country overnight, marching into prison. The administration deporting hundreds of Venezuelans from the U.S. that they accuse of being members of Tren de Aragua, despite a federal judge yesterday ordering the administration to temporarily cease deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. The president invoking the obscure wartime law from 1798 that was partially used to intern Japanese Americans during World War II, allowing the government to deport non-citizens without due process. The judge saying during yesterday's hearing, any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. The president of El Salvador posting, "Oopsie, too late," in response to an article about the court order. Sources tell ABC News the Trump administration made a calculated decision to ignore the judge's ruling to turn around the flights because they were already over international waters. But in a filing today, the Department of Justice claiming some gang members subject to removal under the act were deported before the court's order. The White House saying Tren de Aragua is a direct threat to the national security of the United States. These heinous monsters were extracted and removed to El Salvador, where they will no longer be able to pose any threat to the American people.
They never should have been allowed into our country in the first place. It's our responsibility to protect our families, to keep our streets clean and safe. And that's exactly what the president said he was going to do, and that's what you're seeing being executed right now. We will follow the law.
Lindsay, President Trump is thanking the president of El Salvador for accepting the alleged gang members. And tonight, a White House official tells me that the administration has been in compliance with the court order. The Trump administration is now asking the D.C. Circuit Court to halt the federal judge's decision. Lindsay?
Selina Wang from the White House, thank you. Now we turn overseas. Yemen's Houthi rebels are vowing to retaliate after U.S. strikes. The White House released a photo of President Trump watching as American forces carried out the attacks.